Hello class, my name is Mark Wengler, and I'd like to talk to you about communication today, more specifically public speaking. Public speaking is very important on many aspects of life, all aspects I should say, from business to personal, whether it's just with friends or you're talking to a board of CEOs, board members, possible investors, anything along those lines. You can see why it's very important to make sure you can actually speak in public and communicate what you're actually trying to say. To do that, you have effective communication, which to effectively communicate, you need to have clear thoughts and ideas. You don't want to miscommunicate something to someone, in turn confusing yourself or confusing whoever you're talking to. Successfully effectively communicating relies on accuracy. What exactly you're trying to say, how do you want to say it, how do you want to come across saying it, and accuracy promotes trust from whoever you're listening, whoever is listening to you. They feel that they can absorb what you're saying better if it's truthful and emotionally honest from you. Public speaking, when publicly speaking, you need to make sure that you take into several considerations, such as your settings and conditions, such as who you're going to be talking to, or where you're going to be speaking. Who you're going to be talking to is very important, because you're not going to talk to a possible investor the same way that you would talk to first graders that you're trying to, teach math to. There's going to be a different kind of tone to your voice. There's going to be, many other things that change between who you're talking to, and you want to make sure that you know who you are talking to so that you can prepare for that. Where you're speaking is very important that you know, because things will change from, let's say, speaking outside or speaking inside. Speaking outside, there's going to be more distractions. You have to think about the weather. Are you going to have the audio equipment that you'll need, or can you just talk loudly enough that everybody will hear you? Are you going to have visual aids? If so, do you have the equipment to do that? If you were to be inside, again, if you're going to be in a big venue, you need to make sure that you have audio or everyone can hear you. You don't want to have a venue so big for 4 people. It's a waste, and we want to make sure, if you do have a larger group, that you do have enough room for everybody so that they can be sitting and not standing in the back, or uncomfortable, too hot, too cold, and how long it actually is will affect how effectively you communicate with them. Are they going to keep listening? Communication skills such as nonverbal or verbal, everything from little gestures on how you have your hands. Are they in your pockets? Are you pointing at people? Are you pacing back and forth on in front of everybody? Are you waving your hands too much? This could be a distraction for everyone, taking away from the effectiveness of what you're trying to get across to everyone. You want to make sure you don't do things like pacing or speaking too fast, too slow, too quiet. Obviously, speaking too fast, people aren't going to understand. They'll miss something. They'll think that you're in a hurry, not ready or willing to actually spend time and speak with them or tell them what you need to know or they need to know. Things that you would need to do: eye contact, being clear, concise, making sure that everyone can hear you and understand, and they're not overwhelmed by everything. Knowing the audience and information well is a must when publicly speaking. You want to make sure that you know what you're talking about so that it's passed on to them correctly. Because if they find out something else that is true and goes against what you were saying, they may not be more likely to listen to you as often or care too much to listen to you. Knowing your audience is big, because if you're close with your audience or it's a familiar audience, you could be more personal with them. Rather, if it's just people at work, you want to be professional, and which, language, swearing, which you shouldn't swear anyways, but if it's personal, you could possibly get away with a joke or two here or there talking with friends when you're not going to joke around with a board member. Technology plays a big part in publicly speaking. You need to make sure that you understand what you're using. PowerPoint's a big one. Some do's and don'ts for using PowerPoint is don't have it too long. I've been in many PowerPoints presentations where they go on too long and you kind of just lose interest. You want to make it short, sweet, to the point, so everybody's focused all the way through the presentation. You also want to make sure that you're not reading from the PowerPoint. You can have notes, practice, study, memorize it, so that a quick glance at the slide and you'll remember what you're trying to say. When you're using pictures on the PowerPoint, make sure they're high quality. You don't want a blurry picture up there. It just takes away from the effectiveness of using the actual picture. If you use graphs or charts, make sure they're clear, not overbearing with information so that everyone can understand it. Make sure you explain it to them. Don't just say, here's the picture, or here's the graph, there's the information. Explain it. Know what you're explaining. Make sure that they can understand it. Don't go overboard with the animations on PowerPoint. A lot of people get carried away with it, and it's a distraction. It takes away from the information that's on the PowerPoint. If you do use a PowerPoint, you need to make sure that you have the proper equipment there to use it. Otherwise, it was pointless, and you may not be as prepared, to do it off the top of your head. Audio, a lot of places have audio that they like to use when speaking to larger crowds. You need to make sure that you're familiar with it and that it is in working condition. There's nothing worse than expecting to have a microphone to reach a couple hundred people, and now you have to shout because your microphone isn't working. When publicly speaking, you just in general just need to be confident about what you're saying. Know what you're saying. Be familiar with it. People are coming to you to listen to what you have to say, thinking that you know what you have to say. And be prepared. Make sure that you have all your notes, that you've studied, you've practiced, that all your equipment, technology is in working condition, and go over it. Use it, the night before, the day of, just to make sure that everything's in working condition. But public speaking is a very big part, and everybody needs to know what they're doing. And that only comes with practice. So, thank you very much.